So first of all, I'd like to thank Madam Sharma, Professor Pandya, and Sri Mahanta for giving me this opportunity. Being from Gujarat, this is in fact very special to me. I'm extremely enthused that iHub has come up in Ahmedabad, Gandhinagar area. That's fantastic. At the same time, I feel a little sad that it took so long for it to come up. You know, I mean, Gujarat is the state of entrepreneurs. If you were to predict, it should have come up first in Gujarat and then elsewhere. Because as I used to tell people, you know, you throw a stone and the first person the stone hits most likely is an entrepreneur. You know, that's the situation in Gujarat. So I hope this will in fact promote high-tech entrepreneurship very actively in Gujarat. Uh, so what I do just to set the tone, you know, and I think this may be preaching to the choir, but I think this is more meant for the audience that is listening to us. And these are some data that I have picked up from NASSCOM. So I'll just quickly rush through it to highlight a couple of points. Okay. We have a large number of startups in India right now, close to 9,000. I won't go through all the details out here. And it is growing roughly like 12 to 15%. Okay. But by the same token, I will share the nice ideas that were thought that were articulated by Dr. Gopinath, that the failure rate is also very, very high. Though we have so very few of them really succeed and go up and become very, very big out here. Okay, I'll briefly mention that. The numbers look very large out here because there is some kind of aggregation, you know, $4.4 billion total funding received by startups in 2019. And one has to look at actually how much cash came in. There are different ways of kind of looking at the funding. So I would say that one should be a little more careful about it. 60,000 new jobs have been created, which is good. And I think what is also more important is almost the 1.3 to 1.8 lakh new indirect jobs that get created for every startup that you have. I won't spend, again, this is kind of a repetition of the previous slide in a different format out here, but the whole thing is growing very, very steadily if you look over the time span. What I wanted to spend a little bit of time is the distribution of startups in different domains out here. And this is something we should keep in mind. You know, you have enterprise, healthcare, you know, fintech, something I thought should take off in Gujarat very, very actively, given that GIFT is coming up, you know, and presume that GIFT is moving quite rapidly in Gandhinagar. Okay, EdTech, HR tech, retail, you know, travel and hospitality. Okay, now if I can go through this list, you know, automotive, the automotive comes lower, industrial manufacturing comes lower, mobility comes lower, agri-tech comes lower. So what you find is that this is a little disheartening that deep tech incubators are not as many as non-deep tech. Okay, I think, you know, if you look at Silicon Valley, every incubator in Silicon Valley is a deep tech incubator. Okay, so I think we need to kind of create an ecosystem and work towards it. And this is where the academia interaction is very, very critical. Like the interaction they have there with Stanford and Berkeley is very critical, you know, to create deep tech ecosystem. These are the ones which can have a long lasting impact and can become really a source of pride for all of us. Okay. This was mentioned earlier in terms of hubs. Okay, the T hub came up earlier in Hyderabad, one of the earlier hubs. Today, the hubs are coming up all over the country. Okay, and this is the distribution of hubs. Every major city in the country now has a hub which is promoting startups and innovation out here. Okay, of course, as was mentioned by people, the 58% of startups are in Bangalore, NCR, Mumbai, and even among them, Bangalore is way ahead. You know, Hyderabad probably comes, I think, 6th or 7th. You know, I think Pune also has a large number of startups. Now, let me get to this particular part out here in terms of sharing some of the thoughts. You know, so first of all, as I said, this is a very welcome sign. Okay, but there are a lot of things we need to take care when we're talking about student startups. You know, fundamental question that many people ask, you know, is that we get carried away by people like Zuckerberg, but there are very few Zuckerbergs in this world. Okay, should the student indulge in a startup or have a startup while he's a student or after just graduation, or should he or she have some amount of experience before they get into startup? This is an open debate. I don't have an unequivocal answer for that. Okay, it's very individualistic thing, but both options should be kept in mind. That is, when you have iHub, I think one should also look at people who come, you know, a few years after graduation, because many times they come with a little more mature outlook and it could be more sustainable than a student who is still, you know, looking for, you know, his space in this particular world after graduation. Another aspect, if you look at in India, most of the startups, and I hope Dr. Gopinath can kind of corroborate, and Dr. Gurumurthy also, he has been doing a lot of it, and IIC Bangalore are Me Too startups. We look at technologies which are abroad and try to see how it can be adapted and worked. Two biggest ones in India, if you call, Ola. In fact, Ola was started by a former student of mine, Bhavesh Agarwal, and his colleague, both IIT Bombay graduates. It's a Me Too technology. Uber was already there. If you look at Flipkart, again, a Me Too technology has worked very well, but the mileage that you get is not as much as you were like Amazon. You were the front runner. Okay, so I think we also look at something like a front runner startup, which are very difficult, not that easy. But I think this is where India can make a big mark out here. This requires out-of-box thinking. If you want to have a deep tech front runner startup, okay, because it is not simply emulating what you see in the West. Airbnb is there. There are several startups in India which have emulated Airbnb. Fundamentally, these are aggregated and distribution kind of software packages that one can develop, or the various apps that are there, Swiggy, Zomato, whatever. So those are, I mean, it's good. I'm very happy that they are there, but I think we need to move up the value chain now. This requires strong collaboration with research institutes. And what I feel is that sometimes we look at interaction with local research institute. What pandemic has shown is that physical distance is no longer a constraint. I'm sitting in Hyderabad and interacting with you as if I'm in Ahmedabad itself. Okay, we have people from Indore interacting. We have people from Lucknow. I am Lucknow. We have people from Kerala. So if you look at the panel here, it is from all across the country. The physical distance has no meaning. So when you look at collaboration, you can look at collaboration with universities and institutes across the country. It need not necessarily be restricted to Gujarat itself. And I think everybody is doing that. I mean, I keep telling it, but sometimes we always feel, no, we'll look at regional thing. And I ask them why. It doesn't really make any sense to me. And this panel is proof that your panel consists of people from a length and breadth of the country. Okay, but collaboration with academia is very, very important, because out-of-box thinking is typically the purview of academia. Okay. And I think this, you have to work hard towards it, because faculty are very skeptical sometimes of these things. Oh, they will steal my ideas, they will run away with my ideas and make money out of it. I will be left high and dry. I mean, this is a genuine thing. So you have to work hard to create what one might call a trust factor between, say, the business community, the entrepreneurial community, and the academic community. Today, I think the trust factor is not very strong. It is much better in the US. Okay, there also they face this problem. The second thing I would say is that, in every institution, to create this entrepreneurial system, we need to create what I call maker breaker lab. Okay. Why I call breaker lab is like, at a youngsters, when they're in the first year, I've been advocating this. If every college has a breaker lab, a lab where you look at equipment like an old refrigerator. When I ask people, how often have you taken a hard disk and taken it apart and see what is in there? All of us are using hard disk. Right, hard disk memory is there all over the place, everywhere, on my laptop, etc., except cell phone. Cell phone has solid state memory only. This has both. How many students or how many people have really seen what is inside? We might have seen pictures in Google, and there are so many junk hard disks. Any kabadiwala will give you hard disk today, and you just need to split it open. Okay. So I think we need to create that culture where students, which at a very young age, in the very first year, have a lab where the only job is to break open things, refrigerators, microwave ovens, cameras, buy junk stuff. I'm not thinking to buy brand new things, and I can list a whole bunch of gadgets and just study as to what is happening in there, rather than a professor lecturing saying that, oh, this is how a microwave oven runs and these are the principles. Yes, those are important. But finally, I need, and breaking is a lot of fun. I can tell you at that age, when you are 16, 17, it could even be done in schools, perhaps at a certain level. It's a fun thing that youngsters enjoy. And then you have a maker lab as a follow-up to that, where you start building things. There are various maker lab models which are there. I think Atal Innovation Lab have been set up in many, many places, but we need to go much more beyond that. Those are like the maker labs, and I think government has taken a very big step in it. That is one thing which I would say, that you need to create this, see, we need to have a culture where if you look at in the olden days, there were a large number of people who got into small mechanical engineering shops. People would buy a lathe machine, people would buy maybe a drilling machine, a hacksaw, things like that. and you go as in Gujarat, and I think in Punjab also I've seen job karne ka hai. I mean, that is, you go with a job. I need this particular part to be manufactured, which I need in my basic thing that I'm developing, and the guy will do it in 3 days and give you that part. Now, we have not created that ecosystem in electronics and things like that, partly because people don't have exposure to working with such things when they are very young. So the Maker Lab is a very crucial thing, does not cost very much, a little bit of investment is there, and I would put it almost that it's a must, where people fiddle with it. Then I already mentioned about faculty collaboration and student collaboration. The other part which I find many times we get bogged down is equity holding. Okay, how much equity should iHub hold? It's a problem also if you look at incubators in India like Sign in Bombay or whatever in IIT Madras, IIT Hyderabad also. My philosophy when I started the incubator in IIT Hyderabad is that hold very little equity. Don't worry about that. I think generating goodwill by the university is very, very important. The classic example is Google came out of Stanford. And I remember when I first used Google, the URL was Stanford University. This was, I think, way back in 99 or 2000 or something like that. Okay, long time ago. Google had not yet become a company. Stanford does not own a single share of Google. But Stanford has so much goodwill with Google that if they need maybe 10, 20, $30 million, all they need to do is make a phone call to Sergey Brin or Larry Page. I think that is something we should keep in mind. I've seen many incubators, 13%, 5%. I'm a baniya, but then I tell them, Baba, leave that to me. Don't get into this sort of a thing. So I think, look at it from a different perspective that we are doing something long term, then worry about it. Encourage patenting. Okay, I think that culture has not come into the country as yet. We have patents. Okay, I think we have to start off. There may be small value patents, doesn't matter, but that culture is not there. Academia likes to publish. Why? Because when you come up for promotion from assistant to associate, associate to full, it is publications that matter. What is the citation? What is H-index? Google citation, etc. I think we need to create a culture where we say that patenting also will be counted. Product development will be counted towards your promotion. It is very hard. I tried to some extent in IIT Hyderabad, but it is not that easy. The old traditions, old habits don't die that easily. But I think if all of us collectively work together, we can create that culture. And you can see the difference between MIT and Stanford. MIT is much more scholarly in nature. Stanford is much more entrepreneurial in nature. You walk on Stanford campus, it is like everybody talks about startups. And MIT campus has some very different culture. Okay. So I said, you have very liberal patent. So also when the patent is there, who owns the patent? Now, typically it will say IIT will own the patent. You are the inventor. Now, if I have a startup as a faculty or student, I am obligated to IIT now, how will IIT license that patent to me? So when the investor comes, he says, oh, you don't own the patent, IIT owns. Whoops, let's think about it twice. Okay. So maybe we should change the rule and let the faculty own the patent. I know, and maybe some understanding can be there, that part of it when it comes. So let the 80% patent rights could be with the faculty, only 20% patent rights with the university. We need to change things around. We talk about out-of-box thinking for development. Academia also needs to think out of box, and they cannot think in a traditional manner. So that's one thing. Then one thing we did at IIT Hyderabad, in some sense, to encourage. We have, what all you are doing, various executive courses and other things you're having. What I did was to start a minor in entrepreneurship for all students. It didn't matter whether you were first year, second year, third year, PhD, whoever was interested. I'll just quickly flash it. This is the program we used to have, each one of 1 credit. Okay, but the key USP of this particular program are not the courses. Many management institutes will offer some of these courses, but not a single course is taught by a professor. Neither a management professor nor an engineering professor. All the courses are taught by people who themselves have been entrepreneurs. They are venture capitalists, okay, or they are startups. So if you look at, say, Ajay Chaudhary, who taught the course on Introduction to Entrepreneurship. Okay, I'll take a few minutes on this just to emphasize. He is one of the co-founders of HCL. He happened to be the chairman board of governors. I may be the only director who convinced chairman board of governors to teach a course at the institute. And he actually taught, and he was very popular, by the way. Okay, so then you look at, say, people like BVR Mohan Reddy. You go down, number 8, HR and leadership. He was the next chairman of IIT Hyderabad Board of Governors. He runs a company called Cyient. Many might have heard of it. It's one of those engineering software company, not simply IT software. He teaches a course at IIT Hyderabad. People like Shantanu Paul, they have a startup, educational startup, he teaches a course. People like, if I look at Satish Andhra, I think he may be there somewhere in here. He runs a venture company in the city. Now, of course, these people don't do it regularly. Okay. They will do it for 1 or 2 times. They'll say, so what I did was I had a pool of something like 30, 40 people. So if Satish Andhra said, like item number 4, business plan, Satish Andhra and Srini Adapalli. Then Satish said, look, I've done it twice. I can't do it more. I have my work. Then I said, okay, you find somebody. Okay. So he got then, I think, a person called Rimpal. Okay. Rimpal Chawla. He came and taught it. So there is a whole ecosystem where you have a chain. Okay. You can't come, ask your friend. Okay. He will come. And then you create a system that if somebody is not available, that semester you get somebody else. The idea being is you have this course taught by people who have burned their fingers, who have dirtied their fingers. Not simply people who teach from textbooks. That was my main motivation out here. And I think there are people, they like to do it, not year after year after year. They will do it maybe for 2 years. And if you notice, these are modules. Each module is about 14 hours, except the business plan development, which is a 42-hour module, 3 credits. Okay. Sorry for taking a little extra time on this, but I thought, I'm not sure how the new director is going with it, but this became very successful, by the way. Then venture funding. Okay, I think I've been talking about this and this has not happened. I think maybe the state of Gujarat can do it. After all, if there is one state which is known for taking risks, it is Gujarat. Okay, you can think of starting a risk fund. Okay, it's a startup fund. And what I've seen is across the world, except for Silicon Valley, everybody has a government risk fund. I've seen it in Australia. I've seen it in Canada. I've seen it in UK. Silicon Valley is a very, very different ecosystem. Okay, obviously. So I think this has to be thought of. I would really ask Madam Anju Sharma, because government comes in and she will have some ideas on it. I don't have full idea, but unless we do that, because in India, we don't get too many people, I keep joking and don't get me wrong out here. We will rather give money to a temple than to a startup. Okay. This is, my kith and kin. So I'm not going any far out here. Okay. So I think we need to kind of think about this part, The other part I would say is get VCs associated, have a network of VCs. For example, Delhi has the Delhi Angels, a very strong group. Hyderabad has Hyderabad Angels, Bangalore has it, I think. Even there is some angel group in Bombay. In Gujarat also, I think you need to create this angel group. These are small funders. Okay. And I'm sure there are many Gujaratis out there, who have enough money and money, there's no dearth of money in Gujarat in principle. Okay. And one can look at that. So you create this group of angels, many will come forward. And the hub people should meet these angels periodically, because angel will tell them, look, what you're doing is good, but hey, this is not going to sell in the market. Okay, that's something the angels know much better. Go global. There's a strong Gujarati diaspora in Silicon Valley in the US. Try to network with them. I'll give an example. Rajesh Mashruwala, IIT Bombay graduate, of course, a Bombay Gujarati. He lives in US. He came forward and started and gave $1 million, and along with a colleague of his, another $2 million totally, Center for Healthcare Entrepreneurship. He said, I want to focus only on healthcare. So he's literally funding that particular part. So there are many such people out there. Some of them are billionaires, people like Bharat Desai, who had this, I'm forgetting his company, right now, name. He's a multi-billionaire. There are many like that. I think if iHub can target them, cultivate the relationship, A, they will give a lot of mentorship, which will be international mentorship. And B, they can even get you in touch, give funding to iHub to encourage entrepreneurship. See, there is always this longing, look, I've been in US, I'm 60, 65, I want to give back to my country and sometimes to my state also. The other part which I think, and this is something I want to emphasize, is ease of doing business. India is not the good place for doing business. Whenever I talk to any VC internationally, people like Kanwal Rekhi, Kanwal says, I will not invest in India unless you are registered either in Silicon Valley or Delaware or Singapore. It's very difficult to do because this is your rules and regulations. I can't even understand them, first of all. There are too complex and too many. Okay. Even ease of exit. If you have a company, exiting is very complicated in India. Silicon Valley has mastered the art of starting a company and exiting a company. They can do it literally overnight. This is my last slide, I think. Product design, I'll leave it at that. The last part is sales and marketing. You already mentioned that, so I won't kind of spend time. I'll stop here. I took a little more than my time. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.